Here to join us right now, me and Tommy Dreamer, is our buddy Austin Karp. He's the managing editor of the Sports Business Journal. And we asked Austin to be on this morning to talk about the AEW new deal, the television deal, the rights deal. How much money are they getting? Where are they going? Are they staying on TV? Are they streaming? All this stuff that myself and Tommy are not experts about, but it seems that Austin is. So, Austin, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me and Tommy here on a Fat and the Furious edition of Busted Open this morning.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Doing good?
Doing fantastic.
Excited to be here?
Hell yes.
Excited to be here with a Hall of Famer and Tommy Dreamer too?
Hell, let's do it.
Just busted Tommy's ball. So, Austin, bring us up to speed. Talk to us about this new AEW deal. Where are they at? Where are they headed? What can fans expect? Is it looking good for AEW? Are things still a little shaky? Give us everything you got, please.
Well, I guess the best way to think of it is a massive game of dominoes. And the biggest one that's got to fall still is the NBA. That's the biggest media rights deal that's going to be signed this year.
Why do we have to wait on the NBA deal?
Okay, because so Turner was a 40-year partner, right? And they kind of got squeezed out. NBA wanted to go with NBC as that second partner, and then Amazon. They wanted Amazon's reach for a C package of streaming rights. Now on Monday, David Zaslav and Warner Brothers Discovery decided to match that Amazon deal and tell the NBA, yeah, we want that. We want to slap that onto Max. We'll continue to be a partner. But the NBA is likely going to look at that, all their lawyers, in-house, outside counsel, and be like, no, it doesn't necessarily match what we agreed upon with Amazon because they may have more reach than what Max has. I mean, even if you look at it just at the United States portion, I'd say Prime Video has double the usage of what Max has in terms of people using that streaming service. It's just more popular because everyone's going to Prime. It's not what Netflix is, it's not what YouTube is, but it's probably third in terms of the platforms there. So the ball is kind of like still in the court of what is the NBA going to do? Are they going to say no? Is this going to lead to some sort of legal entanglement now? So if the lawyers are going back and forth and Turner doesn't know whether it's going to have that NBA package, it's kind of tough to decide what's going to be going on with the future with some of the other packages out there. That being said, that hasn't stopped them from this point striking deals with the French Open, striking deals to simulcast some of those early round college football playoff games. So it could get done even if the NBA deal doesn't done, but that is what Warner Brothers Discovery is working on first and foremost right now. My sources tell me that the AEW deal is not done yet. I know there were some reports out there that it's signed, sealed, and delivered. I'm not hearing that. I heard there's still a little bit of work to be done. So I know Tony Khan's going to be in Paris for the Olympics. David Zaslav's definitely going to be there because Warner Brothers Discovery owns Eurosport. They air all the games throughout Europe. And Adam Silver from the NBA is going to be in Paris. So a lot of deal making and behind the scenes work still to be done.
So, Austin, you're saying that there's a lot of work to be done. How far apart are they?
Probably not that much. I mean, I imagine they probably are close, but some numbers still to work out there.
So, in your opinion, do things look positive for AEW getting a new deal?
I do. I think AEW is going to be in a good spot because, if I were a betting man, I'm not betting that the NBA stays with Warner Brothers Discovery. I think TNT this will be their last season with the NBA. They'll come to some sort of settlement. So that leaves Warner Brothers Discovery with a mountain of cash. And that's probably why, Tony wants to get the max value because he's also reading the same sort of things that I'm reading.
But even though they have a mountain of cash, does that mean that they want to invest it all in AEW? And here is where my ratings question will come on the air. And by the way, I'm thoroughly convinced that the only reason that Paul invited you over onto the show this morning was to try to put me in my place about my opinion on ratings. So if they do have a boatload of money, but the ratings aren't exactly knocking them dead, why should Tony or anybody expect them to give them that leftover boatload of money?
Well, I think Tony's going to get it. I think he's going to get that 110 million or so, maybe more, 115 million dollars a year that he's looking for because while the ratings, the P2 plus, your viewership number, AEW on Friday night we'll look at is getting around 750, 760,000 viewers. It's not crushing it on Friday night, but that's not terrible. That's better than what a lot of things even do on broadcast TV. Plus, next year, they might even do better on Friday night because they won't have competition on linear television from WWE on Friday nights. That's going to Netflix. And they see opportunity. They see real opportunity to own Friday nights. Tony sees it. TNT also sees the opportunity there. Now, while cable TV does continue to be a declining business, it's not going anywhere in the next 4 or 5 years. Cable is not collapsing. The numbers are declining in terms of viewership and in terms of people that subscribe to cable TV, but it's not going anywhere, and it's still a cash business. So I think there is positive feelings on both sides, and it's not a great ton of money that they're looking for here. This isn't the PGA Tour. It's not the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball even, okay? This is an affordable property that Warner Brothers can have. And if you're talking about $115 million a year, that's essentially what the NCAA re-upped for with on ESPN earlier this year, around 115 million they're getting. That's for the College World Series, the women's NCAA basketball tournament, gymnastics, volleyball, all of those championships that are going to be on ESPN. That's kind of like the same price range, I believe, annually that AEW is going to get.
So, Tommy, I just have one more question. Just hold off. So, best case scenario, in your opinion, right now, is that $115 million a year, right in that range deal for AEW for multiple years, correct?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good deal for them.
What is the worst case scenario right now for AEW?
The worst case is if TNT does re-up with the NBA. If for some reason, if they do end up going back as a partner and paying a lot of money, that is around 1.9 billion, I think that the NBA is asking for annually in that sort of package. There may not be money on the table for an AEW. There certainly wouldn't be down the road for a UFC.
But there wouldn't be any money on the table for AEW, as in AEW.
I don't know what kind of dollars would be left. I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, let's be honest, Warner Brothers Discovery is not the most liquid company right now. They have a massive amount of debt. Now, they have a line of credit that they'd be able to afford this NBA match, but they had to get a line of credit just to be able to do that. Like a lot of debt going on there with Warner Brothers Discovery. That's probably why they're not going to be an NBA partner going forward.
Tommy?
First of all, when you say debt and it's a network, how do you get that if you're sustaining your business to continue?
Exactly. How is it going to be a sustainable business?
Right.
The merger between Warner Brothers and Discovery, most Wall Street types will tell you that the merger just hasn't worked. They've tried cutting costs. You heard about them canceling that $90 million Batgirl movie a couple. They're really shrinking costs, and this was one of those. Them not being with the NBA would be reflective of that. And then you're talking about in the wake of that, could Warner Brothers Discovery even merge with another company like Paramount? They just got taken over, merged with Skydance. So there are going to be some further merger and opportunities out there that Warner Brothers Discovery is going to be looking at.
Interesting.
Austin, Tommy.
I'm just talking about this thing called, forget about wrestling, this thing called content, live content, this void of the NBA. It also has the show, what is it, NBA prime
Inside
time.
the NBA or the pregame show.
There's so many satellite shows. Also, as you know, live television. Wrestling is a cheaper option because of how globally expanded the NBA has gotten. And you're talking about, when you say this C package, if you could explain for our listeners what the C package is, where they're still getting offered a boatload of money. And there's no more, which amazes me, and maybe you could shed some light. There's no more exclusivity. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew Madison Square Garden Network, I could watch the Yankees, the Rangers, and the Knicks. And then it went to, they started their own network. But now they're either going to be on local television for some games, or now some games fall on Prime. There is no more exclusivity. So if you could kind of educate me as well as our listeners.
Yeah, you'll see a lot fewer games there on MSG, and that's why James Dolan is pissed. But to give you that 30,000-foot view of what the NBA is striking here, you'll have ESPN ABC as your A partner. They're going to be paying a lot of money, $2.7 billion annually, something like that. Your B package, which is what TNT has had for essentially 40 years. They're a 40-year partner of the NBA. That's going to be going away. Inside the NBA, enough sports Emmys to fill up a room.
Yep.
That B package is now going to be going to NBC Universal. A lot of games on NBC. You'll see Sunday night basketball. You'll also see a lot of games on Peacock. Okay, so they want and you'll see twice a week NBC broadcast games. That was important for the NBA, that broadcast TV reach. That's where a lot of sports is starting to re-migrate to after so long being cable, relying on cable TV. So this C package is something new that was carved out. Yeah, it is a lot of the games that were on TNT, because they had Tuesday and Thursday, so they had to take some games from ESPN. They took some games from TNT. They took probably some of the regional games that James Dolan is complaining about that would have been on MSG, to create a package for Amazon, because they want to be in business with Amazon. They love the global reach. They love the merchandising, the sales opportunities, and the interconnectivity. You saw what like the NFL was able to do with a Black Friday game on Amazon Prime Video, offering up that interconnectivity. They can sell you shoes during commercials. They can sell you jerseys. Boom, one click, done. They like what Amazon Prime is able to offer to a younger demo, a worldwide demo. And that's why they like Amazon more than they're going to like just what Max would be able to offer them in the United States.
Austin, are you a fan of AEW?
I'm a lapsed professional wrestling fan, if I'm being honest. I don't catch it a whole lot. I have a lot of friends who do. I know you guys have probably talked to attorney Michael Dawkins on this show at some point. He's my law school roommate. He's a huge fan. Love talking to him, and I'll pick his brain every now and again. But yeah, I consider myself a lapsed professional wrestling fan.
Okay, even though you're a lapsed professional wrestling fan, we know, the WWE has done what they've done over, the past 100 years, and we know what they're worth. Based on what you know of the product, or what your friends may have told you, or what you get to catch every once in a while, do you believe AEW is worth that high-end money from the network? Do you believe that they're worth $110, $115 million a year?
I do. You kind of hit on it, like live programming, live content, and they have clearly established themselves as the number 3 in the fight game behind UFC, WWE. And they saw, Tony and his folks saw an opening. They took advantage of it, and they've done a really good job establishing themselves as that third tier, just in terms of media value property. The numbers are there. Like 750,000 isn't, amazing. It's not. I'm not going to compare it to the NFL because nothing's the NFL. But there are key programs out there, key sports that aren't drawing that on cable, and it's in a tough spot on Friday night. Friday night viewing is, people aren't watching a whole lot of TV on Friday night. They're out.
But let's concentrate on their flagship show, their Wednesday night show, which is Dynamite. It's Dynamite that right now is consistently, let's just call it between 750 and 800,000. Is that enough to keep the network happy on a weekly basis?
Yeah, and I keep saying Friday. I do mean Wednesday for Dynamite and the flagship show.
Oh, okay.
At 750. Misspoke there. Apologies on that. It's still a strong number. That's still a strong number for Wednesday nights. It's not a football night. It's not a marquee sports night. So they have found a good window there. I think it's good numbers, and I think they're going to get that sort of deal. I think Tony still gets a number that he likes.
We're also talking about 5 hours of television across their platforms, because they have Dynamite, they have Rampage, they have Collision.
Yeah, it's not just that one show. Yeah,
right. So I feel I have the same. If I lost the NBA, I kind of want to either partner for here's a little bit more money so I can have somewhat even of a bigger or better show, more, I don't want to say ad share, but I'd like to say more in-house advertisement, in the sense of like I'm watching NXT and I'm watching Monday Night Raw and I'm seeing blood and guts commercials for Dynamite. I like more integration. I know they did with Shark Week. They add stuff like that, all to make this like, when you walk into Peacock, Universal, NBC, you do see the WWE logo. You do see pictures with all these people, just like you're gonna now see, with the NBA on other platforms. You want to see this represented. So, like, again, with when you said it's chess, it's 100% chess, and it's a waiting game, because the dominoes, if one thing happens, the worst case, and like Bully said, if there is no more money, then what? Where would they take this? Like, that's also scary if you are an owner. And that's something that I experienced back in the day when we went from, hey, we're on TNN, and wait, WWE's going to TNN? TNN says they have no money. And then all of a sudden they found $150 million to give to WWE, and they said, "Oh, you're out." And we're like, "Wait, what?" And we couldn't exist. So those are the scary parts.
If Warner Brothers Discovery does re-up with AEW, I think you would see more of that WWE level integration, because they've been with them for years, and this was kind of the first big media deal that the AEW did. Knowing that it's sticking around, knowing that, okay, this thing is legit, we can actually wrap our arms around it and weave it into our program a little more. I think you would see that if it stayed there. And another thing to talk about is, in Warner Brothers Discovery, not dragging their feet, but taking their time, is there's not a lot of noise out there in terms of competition for these AEW rights. You always heard about that coming in, like, oh, NBC wants the NBA, so Turner had to really step up their game if they wanted to be part of that. Who can be a competitor out there to drive up these rights? That's how you drive up these rights. You're not going to have any of the WWE partners. So that takes out Netflix. I mean, it takes out USA. It takes out the CW. Is it going to, does ESPN want to invest those sorts of dollars? They have a huge UFC negotiation coming up. And if Warner Brothers Discovery doesn't get the NBA, they may also want to be in big and maybe even overpay a little bit for those UFC rights. That's going to be that'll be the next big media rights deal that is out there, is the UFC. And if the NBA is done with Turner, you're going to see ESPN and Turner, I think, going really big after those UFC rights.
Wow.
Austin, you had mentioned that on Wednesday nights, like 750 to 800,000, that the network is happy with that, and those are good numbers. What numbers would start to cause concern for a network? Because AEW's the traditional archaic ratings, let's just look at that for a while. Like, maybe a year ago they were at 900,000, and now they've trickled downward into, like, they've even gone into the high sixes. So you hear a lot of chatter on social media, from the know-it-alls who know absolutely nothing at all, to people like you who actually know what the hell they're talking about. What is panic button territory? When does a network truly start to worry?
I don't think there was any panic like you're talking about when you go from that 9 to where they are now, 900 to 700 and change where they're now, because there's always going to be that discoverability factor. It had a novelty factor to it, AEW, and it's settled in to, that's why I think that where it's at 750, that's a respectable number. And it showed consistency there, set between 750, 800. I mean, some nights are lower, like you say, but like if it starts averaging, like really dipping into between 500 and 600, that just, the numbers are what they are. And that's a devalued media product. That shows some serious downward trajectory. Now, some of that can be attributed to a property. Some of that's going to be contributed to just a loss in cable subscribers, and you're not picking it up on, these virtual MVPDs like YouTube TV and Hulu TV. So if they can maintain where they are now and show a little bit of growth, I think they're in a good spot.
My last question for you, and I'm really enjoying this conversation. Thank you for coming on. You're really enlightening myself and Bully. The ratings, right?
And enlightening me and Tommy is not easy because we're heavy.
The rating system. Do you ever think they will grow because they aren't what they should be with the use of DVRs and all that stuff and the ability? Do you think that you will ever see a better rating system than the current Nielsen system?
I think Nielsen is winning the measurement wars, and I think they're getting better. I think there's a lot of push from properties, whether it's traditional stick and ball sports or an AEW, WWE, because they want to be measured correctly. I think gone are the days where Nielsen's like, putting up a finger in the air and it feels like 1 million viewers. They are getting better about measuring digitally. That is where the future is. Everyone's migrating to that. And Nielsen is doing not just a better job of that, but measuring out-of-home viewership, which is incredibly important for sports, incredibly big for sports like the NFL, for soccer. Those are, for NFL, adding those out-of-home measurements, that's bars, restaurants, anything on a Sunday, that added anywhere between 10, 15, 17% sometimes of an audience. I mean, some of that was baked into previous NFL media deals, but not at that level. And this has really shown what those, I mean, you find me a bar on Sunday afternoon that isn't packed with people watching football. Will an AEW or WWE even contribute that sort of out-of-home audience? No, but people are watching digitally. It is a heavy young male audience, which advertisers love, and AEW has shown that along with UFC and WWE, it can deliver that sort of audience.
I own 3 TiVos. Do you think that helps?
You know, AEW is a little bit,
I'm only joking,
wrestling is a little different in that sense, in that it's not live sports, and you can maybe watch it taped, more than 24 hours later. When I'm looking at sports, it's usually this live plus 24-hour window, because after that, nobody watches sports taped. It's like 1% of people that are watching after that 24-hour period. But, wrestling, yeah, you can do more of a, Tony's probably selling them a live plus 7, over the course of a 7-day period.
Yep.
Because the numbers are probably a little better there when you think about professional wrestling and what it can offer in that range.
Well, Austin, awesome. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Austin Karp, the managing editor of the Sports Business Journal. Thanks for smartening us up. And as far as what you're saying in layman terms, things are looking pretty good for AEW right now.
Thanks, fellas.